I'll do my usual Jai Radha Madhava because kids are sleeping. I have to keep it a little quiet. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tiramanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jamuna Tiramanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tiramanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jamuna Tiramanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hari. Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Shri Radha Damodar ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Oops. Which I haven't yet brought up. Fortunately, due to the power of technology, it is no longer necessary for us to be Shrutidhara and just remember everything. You just whip out your smartphone or something. Canto 4, chapter 29 talks between Narada and King Prachina Barhi. I think we are on text number 7. If I'm incorrect, please speak now. Feliz Radhastami. If you wish, you can, in addition to Srimad Bhagavatam verse, also talk about Srimati Radharani. For some strange reason, I will also be doing the lecture in the temple for Radhastami at 11, unless somebody else is more bursting with bhakti. The position is available. I'm just I'm filling the role as a steward until somebody else wants to do Radhastami lecture at 11. So I guess today we'll just talk about Bhagavatam. I mean, right now we'll talk about the Bhagavatam verse, and then later, if you'll join me or whoever else is lecturing, we'll talk about the celebration of the appearance day of Srimati Radharani. So for now, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, chapter 29, text number 7. Brihad balam mano vidyad ubhayendriya nayakam panchalaha panchavishaya yanmadye navakam param. Yes, Surpalam Krishnamai unfortunately cannot come today. They changed their plans. Okay, word for word translation. Brihat Balam, very powerful. Manaha, the mind. You know it's going to be a good verse when it starts with this. Brihat Balam Mano. The very powerful mind. Vidyat, one should know. Ubhaya Indriya, of both groups of senses. Nayakam, the leader. Panchalaha, the kingdom named Panchala. Pancha, 5. Vishayaha, sense objects. Yat, of which. Madhye, in the midst. Navakam, having 9 apertures. Puram, the city. We all know what is the city with 9 apertures. Nothing like the poetic language of Srimad Bhagavatam, huh? Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki jai. Again, this is Narada Muni helping King Prachina Barhishat to understand the allegorical story of Paranjana. So now he's just explaining it. The 11th attendant, who is the commander of the others, is known as the mind. He is the leader of the senses, both in the acquisition of knowledge and in the performance of work. The Panchala kingdom is that atmosphere in which the 5 sense objects are enjoyed. Within that Panchala kingdom is the city of the body, which has 9 gates. Purport. The mind is the center of all activities and is described here as Brihad Bala, very powerful. I think that's everyone's self-evident experience. The mind is very powerful. To get out of the clutches of Maya, and if you're thinking, the mind's not that bad, that's how strong it is. If you're thinking, no, it's not that bad, it means it's really gotten a hold on you. Hare Krishna, Brajalila Mataji. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'll just read the verse again. We're in Canto 4, chapter 29, text number 7. The 11th attendant, who is the commander of the others, is known as the mind. He is the leader of the senses, both in the acquisition of knowledge and in the performance of work. The Panchala kingdom is that atmosphere in which the 5 sense objects are enjoyed. Within that Panchala kingdom is the city of the body, which has 9 gates. Purport. The mind is the center of all activities and is described here as Brihad Bala, very powerful. To get out of the clutches of Maya, material existence, one has to control his mind. According to training, the mind is the friend and the enemy of the living entity. If one gets a good manager, his estate is very nicely managed. But if the manager is a thief, his estate is spoiled. Similarly, in his material conditional existence, the living entity gives power of attorney to his mind. As such, wow, what a way to put it, giving power of attorney to the mind. The soul is just like, I don't really want to get involved. You take care of everything, mind. And then we find ourselves in a camel's body. As such, he is liable to be misdirected by his mind into enjoying sense objects. Camel is such a good analogy, as Prabhupada has often told us. The camel enjoys chewing thorns because it likes the taste of blood. Srila Ambarisha Maharaj, therefore, first engaged his mind upon the lotus feet of the Lord. Savhai Manaha Krishna Padara Vindaya. When the mind is engaged in meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord, the senses are controlled. This system of control is called yama. And this means subduing the senses. One who can subdue the senses is called Goswami, but one who cannot control the mind is called Godasa. The mind directs the activities of the senses, which are expressed through different outlets, as described in the next verse. Wow, so cool. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Gyana Timarandasya. Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shita Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavams Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So again, Narada Muni is giving the purport. He gave the story of Paranjana. Now he's helping King Prachinabarhishat to understand his allegorical story. And just before we get into this verse and purport, let's consider how significant it is to be a guru. It takes a lot of patience. Narada Muni is just willing to explain the whole thing. I mean, he told a very long story, and now he's ready to explain it. If there's any doubt, if there's any question, right? The beginning of this verse, basically, King Prachinabar, he said, I don't fully understand. Like, can you imagine? You have a student and you talk to them for hours about something. And then the first thing they say is, well, I don't fully understand. And then you have to be ready to, well, say it again, explain everything in detail. Similarly, Krishna says to Arjuna near the end of the Bhagavad Gita, right? He says, have you heard attentively? Prabhupada explains in the purport that Krishna was ready to explain anything or everything again. So it's a very serious business to be a teacher, to be a guru. It takes a lot of patience, and you have to be very willing to deliver the message clearly, no matter what it takes, or no matter how long it should take. So I thought that was quite remarkable that Narada Muni is ready to just explain it all in detail. So Narada Muni is explaining his allegorical story, and in this verse, he's describing the mind. The commander of the others, Brihad Bala, Ubhaya Indriya Nayakam, the leader of both groups of senses. We have our knowledge acquiring senses, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and tactile sense. And we have our working senses, the arms, legs, mouth, anus, and genitals, right? I should probably know. And the mind is the leader of both of them. Ubhaya Indriya Nayakam. And because it is the commander of the others, it is Brihad Bala. It is the most strong. At any moment, as we've all experienced many, many times, the mind can just usurp control, commandeer the vessel of the body and say, now we're engaging in sense gratification. And because we have not engaged in much training, as Prabhupada says in this purport, we say, oh, dear mind, but no, I have to work right now. And the mind says, no, stop all that nonsense, sense gratification. And we say, oh, but my mind, now I have to be studying for school. And the mind says, school, we don't need that. We just need sense gratification right now. And we just go with it. We just go with it. The mind, you might say, oh, dear mind, I put a lot of effort into building this relationship with this person. We've created a lot together. It's taken years, decades of trust. But the mind says, no. Just jump into this other relationship. It will satisfy your senses. Do it right now. And then we just throw away everything. Because the mind is the commander of both groups of senses. So the mind's got, it's like 11 against 1. There's the 5 working senses, the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, and the mind. It's the 11 on one side, and then there's just us on the other side. The soul just trying to figure out, who am I? What am I doing? So it's no surprise that we lose this fight frequently. But Srila Prabhupada is making quite clear the solution to the problem is training. It doesn't sound very romantic, doesn't sound very spiritual. Those of us who, when we come along to spiritual life in general, we think that the mind should just acquiesce or something, we just transcend it. But no, it really takes training. Control of the mind and senses takes training. Of course, our culture is meant to do that. We have a culture whereby we act in certain ways with certain people, or young people especially. They should be trained in the ashram to learn how to control the mind and to make it a friend. Just like if one is going to be a manager of an estate, they have to have some qualification. They have to learn about property maintenance and market values and employees and all that sort of stuff. Then they can manage an estate. They have to learn. They have to be trained. It's not enough to just have a good feeling. Well, I'd love to manage your estate for you because I care about you. No, one has to be properly trained. So the mind must be trained by hearing and chanting about Krishna. Without training the mind, without dealing with that, nothing else is going to work out. Frankly speaking, nothing else is going to work out. One who does not have their mind controlled lives always with the greatest enemy. Krishna says, like in your home, with you, following you around all day, every day. I often do a little thought experiment when we're doing outreach programs. I tell people, imagine that your mind were a person, like personified, standing next to you all the time, saying to you the things that your mind says. You're not good enough. Don't even try here. Nobody likes you. Nobody cares. Can you imagine a person standing right here, just saying that into your ear? Nobody even cares. Nobody's listening. Nobody even likes you. Just stop. Or on the other side, the mind saying, you're just so awesome. The only problem in the world is that nobody recognizes how awesome you are. You should really blurt out something into the conversation right now. You should really open your mouth and make sure everybody knows that you're the center of the universe right now. If someone were talking to you like that, like in your personal bubble, it would take a few minutes before you'd be so disgusted by this person, want to punch them in the face, right? Just get out of my life, man. Who are you talking to me like this? But the mind is even more close to us than a person who stands right next to us, whispering into our ear. So that's really the cause of all the problems. As that's why Krishna says, one who has not controlled the mind lives always with the worst enemy. Wow, that sucks in a big way. But there is a solution. What is it that the Avanti Brahmana says in the 11th canto, right? There's a great story about the Avanti Brahmana, this Brahman who decides to become Avaduta. And then because he's Avaduta, although like the local people are kind of abusing him, not understanding his spiritual status, they'd like hurl insults or rocks or whatever, because he seemed like such a strange entity. And someone is asking him, like, why do you endure all this suffering? And he said one of my favorite verses, Nayam janome sukha dukkha hetur na devatatma graha karma kala manaparam karanam amananti samsara chakram parivartayadyat. I'm sorry if some of you who attend Bhagavatam class have heard me recite this verse 1,000 times, but I'll never get tired of it. He says, these people are not the cause of my happiness or distress. Sukha dukkha hetu. Nayam jano, jana means the people. Nayam jano me sukha dukkha hetu. It's not that all these people cause my happiness and distress. And this is a very good lesson for us, because we're always calculating our happiness and distress in relation to the people around us. Well, if this person weren't in my life, then I would be happy. And if that person were in my life, then I'd be more happy. But he's saying it's not actually these people causing my happiness and distress. And not Deva, it's not the demigods, not the Atma, my body, Graha, it's not the planets. It's not your astrology. Graha karma, it's not even my past karma or Kala, the influence of time. And time is a very powerful energy, but he's saying it's not even the time energy that's the sukha dukkha hetu, the cause of my happiness and distress. What is it? Mana param karanam. I think we all know enough Sanskrit to discern the meaning of this verse. Mana param karanam. The mind is the supreme cause. Samsara chakram parivartayadyat. And that's how I'm hitched to the wheel of repeated birth and death. I'm latched on to this samsara chakram via the mind. You know, like a rope. It's connected to the repeated cycle of birth and death via the mind. So that's the real problem. It's not actually who is the president. It's not actually the state of the economy. It's not actually the weather. It's not that Prabhu in the ashram who didn't, who ate your secret stash of burfi that you had hiding somewhere. It's actually the mind causing all happiness and distress. So that's what we need to deal with. Cannot skirt this issue. We must deal with the mind. We got to make it a friend again. Got to get it under control. And it's so nice to get it under control. Herein, Srila Prabhupada is making quite clear that the way to control the mind is to engage it upon the lotus feet of the Lord, following the example of Ambarish Maharaj. We all remember the story of Ambarish Maharaj, who was assaulted by that Muni, Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni was having a bad day, as happens. Sometimes we have a bad day. Durvasa Muni sometimes has bad days, a bit more frequently than others, but let's not hold it against him. He's still a great sage. And he basically assaulted Ambarish Maharaj, but Ambarish Maharaj transcends everything. He understood this verse, Mana Param Karanam. So he first fixed his mind upon the lotus feet of the Lord. Savai Mana Krishna Padara Vindaya. That's the method. Fix the mind upon the lotus feet of the Lord. And I mean, that's like literal. Really just put our mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. And we don't have to interpret that too much. You can interpret it, but why interpret it? The lotus feet of the Lord are remarkable. Like literally the left foot, the right foot, both of them equally fantastic. And we should fix our mind on meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. It's like there's a real spiritual science, not the sort of stuff we talk about at the Bhakti Yoga Center, at least to the beginners, might take it the wrong way. But all of us here are at least qualified enough to start meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord and to take that very seriously. So I'd like to share with you some inspiration for meditating upon the lotus feet of the Lord. Here's some sample flavors for you to taste in that contemplation, because this really does control the mind. And it's not, and we might think like, no, to control the mind, it must require some extreme form of yoga, where I surround myself with fires in all directions and the sun overhead. And then that's what I used to think before I came to Krishna consciousness. I was kind of into some extreme austerities, asceticism, because I hang out with these Buddhist types. Or you might think, to control the mind, I must make it silent. I must, go in some sensory deprivation chamber and just, subdue the mind with silence, deafening silence. But no, the actual method is described by our acharyas. It's tried and true, and it might sound strange, but it really is effective. It's just focus the mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. To think about his right foot and his left foot, and how they're walking through the forest of Vrindavan, which is filled with Chintamani touchstones, the Vraja Raj. There's this Prabhu in Los Angeles, Vraja Raj. Wow, what was his name? He had such a sweet name about being a servant of the dust of Vrindavan. I can't even remember it now. Anyway, how do we meditate on those lotus feet of the Lord? Well, let's follow the example of great devotees. Please be prepared for a deluge of shlokas, because my favorite shlokas are lotus feet shlokas. First, let's go to Queen Kunti, and let's consider how she experiences the taste of the lotus feet of the Lord, how she experiences that meditation. Her meditation on the lotus feet is a desire to always think of the lotus feet of the Lord. She says, Shinvanti gayanti krinantya bhikshnasa smaranti nandanti tavehitam jana sa eva pasyatya charena tavekam bhavo pravaho paramam param bhujam. This is an amazing verse. Queen Kunti, she's been through so much. I mean, who's been through as much as Kunti and her family? But she says, those who always hear about, chant and chant about the glories and then repeat those glories to others. In other words, those who do sankirtana, who share it with others, tavahitam jana. For those persons, bhavo taiva pashyant acharena tavikam bhavo pravaho paramam param bhujam. Those persons will never see repeated birth and death because of only seeing your lotus feet. So you'll see the lotus feet of the Lord by hearing, by chanting, and then sharing it with others. Tavahitam janaha. If you take pleasure in others also hearing and chanting about the Lord, then you'll see the lotus feet. Now we might think, I see the lotus feet. I've been to the temple. I see Shishirada Damodar. I've been doing it for years. Sometimes I'm even dressing the Lord. Sometimes I'm even on the altar worshiping the lotus feet of the Lord. But here she's saying, she's qualifying. What does it mean to see the lotus feet of the Lord? Bhava pravaho param. You no longer see material existence. You no longer see repeated birth and death. Then you've seen the lotus feet of the Lord. If you've really seen the lotus feet of the Lord, then you will no longer see repeated birth and death. That's what we want. That's what we want to see. And she says you can accomplish that by hearing, by chanting, and by taking pleasure in others hearing and chanting. I think this is a really significant verse, Tavahitam janaha, because sometimes, I'm not talking about anybody here in the Zoom room, but sometimes some people like that their spirituality is exclusive. We like to advance by default. We like it when someone is unable to do what we have done. Someone is unable to take up Krishna consciousness because we've made it more difficult than it needs to be. Sometimes we feel like, well, that just shows how great I am. By default, I must be very advanced because, some other new bhakta struggles. I just don't see a lot of like scriptural justification for that attitude. Quite on the contrary, when Kunti is saying, Tava hitam jana, if you take pleasure in others hearing and chanting about the Lord, then you'll really see the lotus feet. Wow. So let's keep that in mind. We must be very pleased when anyone is hearing and chanting about Krishna. Even if they have many faults, there's some new kid on the block and they got all sorts of problems and they're misunderstanding, right? There's always some new bhakta and they might say something and it shows a severe misunderstanding. But we have to take pleasure in how they're hearing and chanting about Krishna. Then we'll see the lotus feet of the Lord. Here's a little more. Foot rasa. Brahma says, Atapite deva padam bhujadvaya prasada lesha anugrahita evahi janati tadvam bhagavan mahimno nachanye kopi charam vichinvan. He says it's impossible to understand the characteristics of the Lord. You cannot understand. Even the demigods cannot understand the great characteristics, the quality, the magnanimous quality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But one who has received prasada lesha, a little speck of the mercy of the lotus feet, that person can understand your personality. This is what Brahma is saying. Brahma, who knows more than Brahma? He's probably got so many shlokas. I just got like 6 or 7 shlokas total. I just recycle them in every Bhagavatam class. But Brahma's got it all. But even he's saying, you cannot understand that the Bhagavan Mahimno, the great quality of the personality of Godhead, in truth, Tattvam, unless you've received just a little tiny speck of the mercy of your lotus feet. Doesn't matter how many books you've read or written. Writing a book doesn't qualify you to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It doesn't say that anywhere. If you receive the mercy of the lotus feet of the Lord, then you can understand the greatness of the Lord's personality. So these are the lotus feet that we want to meditate upon and beg, please, Lord, give me just a little speck of a speck of the mercy of your lotus feet so that I can understand you. Here's another one. I won't do too many verses, just a few more, I promise. But they're just so awesome. Every single one of these verses is so awesome. You can meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a long, long time, which is exactly what this next verse says. Yachchochanishrista sarit pravaro dakena tirtena mudati kritena shiva shivo bhut dhyatur manashamala shaila nisista vajram dhyayancharam bhagavatas charanara vindam. This verse literally says you must meditate upon the lotus feet of the Lord for a long time. So you might think, wow, Yashadev's going on and on. When is this going to end so I can have my breakfast? But I'm just following. I'm doing it by the book here. It says a long time, so don't shoot the messenger as we indulge in our spiritual foot fetish. Herein it says that the blessed Lord Shiva, who is all auspicious, that's what the name Shiva actually means, auspicious. He becomes even more auspicious by taking upon his head the water which has washed the lotus feet of the Lord. As you all know, the celestial Ganga was going to crash down and crush some part of the universe. Was it going to crush Earth? I can't even remember now. But Lord Shiva took it upon his head and subdued that great force. And although he is literally all auspicious, he becomes even more auspicious by taking that water upon his head, which has washed the lotus feet of the Lord. And therefore, those lotus feet act like a thunderbolt, which destroy the mountain of sin in the mind of the meditating devotee. And therefore, we should meditate on those lotus feet for a long time. So think about that. When you go into the temple and you're having darshan of Sri Sri Radha Damodar and you're looking at the lotus feet, first of all, you should recite some of these shlokas. But then think about how you got a mountain of sin in your mind. Sin in the Latin means just desires separate from Krishna. We don't have to get too biblical. Maybe not thinking about killing somebody or committing adultery or stealing somebody's goat or whatever. But anything that is a desire separate from Krishna is sin. The Latin means without God. And you got all sorts of ideas and plans. It's like a burden, like we're carrying this mountain of desires in our mind, all separate from Krishna. And it's such a burden to carry that around all the time, right? Even as we're having darshan, even as we're directly in front of Sri Radha Damodar, we're thinking, yeah, I've only got a little bit of time because I got to go and then I got to deal with this whole mountain of desires that I have. I got to start chipping away at it. So, Krishna, I'm sorry, I've only got a minute or two because, I got a whole mountain of desires separate from you that I got to start dealing with. So Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, I got to go. No, next time we're having darshan of Sri Radha Damodar in the temple, you say, hey, Damodar, hey, my Lord. I mean, look at this. You see what's in my mind. There's a whole mountain of desires separate from you. Please, with the lightning bolt of your lotus feet, just smash it all, please. Just pow, just blow it to smithereens. I'm ready. Just destroy it, please. And meditate, pray in that way for a long time. That's what the verse says. It's not me. Dhyayat charam. Dhyaturmana shamala shaira nishista vajram. Vajra means a thunderbolt. Say, Krishna, please give me that. Just like you pounced upon Mushtikan Chanura. No, Kamsa. Yeah, Kamsa is the one he pounded several times until his life ended. Say, Krishna, in the same way, please just with your thunderbolt, just smash that mountain of desires that's in my mind because I'm really tired of carrying it around, right? Can you all agree with me? Is everybody on the same page with me? Are you tired of carrying around this mountain of desires separate from Krishna? Maybe you all don't have it. Maybe you all have a little molehill. I still have a mountain. So many big plans of how I'm going to enjoy separate from Krishna. I'm just so tired. You got to show it off to people, right? When you visit family, everyone wants to know, what is that burdensome mountain of desires that you're carrying around? Well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm planning this thing. And it's just so exhausting. So just go up to Radha Damodar and say, please, Lord, just smash it all with your thunderbolt, your lotus feet. Thank you. That's how we pray to the Lord. Okay, I'm almost done with the verses. I'm just kidding. I got a few more. Ashesha sanklesha samam vidate gunanuvada shravanam murare. Kimva punastach charanarvindam paraga sevaratir atmalabdha. This is such an awesome verse spoken by Maitreya Muni. Ashesha sanklesha. We've got unlimited desires, right? We know klesha is suffering, not desires. We have unlimited sufferings. Klesha means suffering. Sanklesha means complete suffering, like the total package. Ashesha sanklesha means unlimited, complete suffering packages. Like when you get a package from Amazon in the mail, you get so excited. Imagine if you just open it up and it's actually just suffering. And then you just get packages every day. They're always coming. That's what our life is like. Ashesha sanklesha, the complete total package of suffering, unlimitedly. Ashesha sanklesha. But samam vidate, all of that can just be neutralized so easily by one who is guna anuvada shravanam murare. Can the verse numbers you quoted about the lotus feet be shared? I'm not so good with numbers, Gopal Champapu. I'm sorry. I think I might have number dyslexia. I can never remember the numbers. I'll try to find them later and I'll send them to you. You give me your phone number and I'll send you the verse numbers later. Do my research. Unlimited total suffering packages can be neutralized very easily by gunanuvada shravanam murare, one who hears about, just shravanam, just hears about the guna, the good qualities of Murari Krishna. So easily, right? And don't we have that experience? Don't we have that tangible experience? Maybe you're experiencing it right now. If not, I'm sorry, I tried my best. But maybe you're experiencing it right now. We just forget about our suffering for a little while when we're absorbed in the kirtan, when we're absorbed in the Krishna Katha. At least for that time, we forget our sanklesha. It's very easily accomplished just by hearing and chanting about Krishna's qualities. And then Maitreya Muni says, what to speak of those who actually have a taste, paraga, for seva, for service to the lotus feet of the Lord. Because hearing is actually quite easy. I mean, you just sit there. All you have to do is just turn your ear holes in the direction of someone who's qualified to say something about Krishna. It's kind of easy if you think about it. But seva can be quite difficult. You know, we have to put our heart into some service and take on some challenge or some risk. So Maitreya Muni is saying, what to speak of those who actually have a taste for seva, paraga seva rati, to the lotus feet. Kimba punas touch charanara vinda paraga seva ratir atma labtav. So when we go for darshan of Sri Radha Damodar, you say, our Lord, I got a little taste. I had a taste of it. Maybe I've forgotten it. You know, Maya is so strong. I forgot about the taste, but I can just barely remember. I need more of that flavor. And then all of your problems are solved. Asesha sanklesha samambidate. That's what Maitreya Muni says. How awesome is that? Totally awesome, in my opinion. Last verse, and then I'm done with the foot verses for today. The last verse comes from Jamunacharya's Stotra Ratna. So we're going to go institutional here, inter-parampara, inter-sampradaya. He says, Na dharmanishtos mina chatma vedi, na bhaktimams tvach charanadavinde, akinchana nanyagati sharanya, tvatpada mulam sharanam prapadye. This is how we should all be feeling. Well, I can't speak for everybody. This is how I feel. Na dharmanishta, I haven't got my dharma together. He's praying to the Lord. I don't know my dharma. I mean, we tell people that, yeah, dharma this, dharma that. I don't really know. I'm just kind of like trying to get through life here. Na dharmanishta, na chatma vedi. I don't really know myself very well. Na chatma vedi. I don't even know like who I am. Na dharmanishtos mi na chatma vedi. Na bhakti mums touch, and obviously I don't have any devotion to your lotus feet. I mean, that part is pretty clear. Which is why I've got nothing else. I don't have anything. I don't have anything. The more I analyze it, the more I realize I don't have anything at all. I don't really possess anything materially in this world. I think that I possess the body, but it's just like deteriorating in front of my own eyes. It's melting away. Despite how hard I try to hold on to it by eating organic kale and taking my multivitamins, still it's just melting away and flushing down the toilet. What do I have here? A kinchana nanya gati sharanya. I got nothing. I'm a kinchana. What do I have? I got nothing. Gati sharanya, but that's why I'm trying to take shelter of your lotus feet. Tatpadamulam sharanam prapadye. That's all I've got, really. Is that I can still come to your lotus feet and beg you for shelter. That's all I've got. My qualities are mostly just the result of previous karma enacted upon me by others. My body, it's just because my parents had a fling, probably got drunk. My mind is just like a wild animal this way and that way. What do I have? What do I really have? I have the opportunity to take shelter of your lotus feet, and that's it. And that's more than enough. That's totally awesome. When we take shelter of the lotus feet, then we know all these verses that we just said, that we just read, there's so much potential there. This really controls the mind, because our mind is just like, wow, I'm so amazing. I'm so great, blah, 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 blah. But if you just get into the meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord, even the mind is just like, wow, that is awesome. That's just fantastic. When you get fully absorbed in the kirtan with the devotees, even our wild and crazy mind, which is just like a child, just like a monkey child, not even a human child. Our mind is like a monkey child. Even our mind just goes, wow, this kirtan is just amazing. Or when the Krishna Katha is just fantastic. Even our mind is just wow, so attracted. That's the type of meditation we aspire for. As Queen Kunti says, Gangivo Gamudanvati, who knows that verse? Gangivogam Udanvati. Can't remember it. I'm sorry. But she says, she prays to the Lord saying, I want my mind to be attracted to you, just like the Ganga always draws towards the sea. That's the sort of meditation one. That's how our mind becomes a friend. When the mind is like, you know what, soul, this is really good. We should both get in on this, hearing and chanting. Let me get some of that too. That's how we make the mind a friend, not by severe austerity and tapasya and torture or some sort of illusion of silence, or by indulgence in raja and tamagun. That doesn't make the mind a friend. The mind becomes a friend when it also gets a taste for hearing and chanting. When the kirtan is just pumping and you go, wow. even our material mind says, wow, I got to get some of this. Because it is the Lord's energy. Everything is the Lord's energy. Even the mind can be attracted back to its origin, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So, in review, Prabhupada says here, when the mind is engaged in meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord, the senses are controlled. This system of control is called yama, and this means subduing the senses. Hare Krishna, I would like to ask if our dear devotees like Taraka Prabhu or Rajalila Mataji or anyone would like to share some thoughts or feelings about what has been said thus far. Again, if you're expecting to hear about Srimati Radharani, of course you can talk about Srimati Radharani right now if you like. We have 10 minutes. But the reason we just stuck with the verse is because we will have a program for Radhastami today, and by some strange coincidence, I'm doing that lecture also, unless somebody else would like to take the spot. So I'm saving the Radha Bhava ecstasy for later, if you'll tune in later. But if anyone's bursting with enthusiasm to share some thoughts on Srimati Radharani or on this verse and purport, please feel free. We would appreciate your participation.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Tarka Prabhu.
Thank you for a very nice class.
Thank you for listening.
Full meditation on the Lord's lotus feet. Would you agree that meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord begins with meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord's pure devotee, spiritual master?
Begins with. I agree that that's, of course, very significant. Naturally, we're praying to Sri Guru every day when we sing our Guru Vandanam and Guru Vashtakam. We're meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord, Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. But when you say begins with, I do wonder if that's the right term. Certainly our introduction to the lotus feet of the Lord is only by the mercy of the devotees. Well, there are some cases where the Lord can directly just give you devotional service, but for most of us, almost all of us, it's because of the mercy of the Lord's devotees first. So I don't know if I'd say begins with, but I'd certainly say simultaneously. We are meant to meditate upon the lotus feet of the spiritual master and so many other devotees who have guided and assisted us along the way. It's a great privilege to do so. It's such a great ecstasy and a pleasure to meditate on all of the devotees who have helped us, and especially our spiritual master. So I would argue that it is a simultaneous meditation. I hope that answer satisfies you. Perhaps you also have a perspective on that question, Prabhu, if you'd like to share.
I'm satisfied. That's good enough.
Okay. Thank you.
I just felt that, we had to say something about the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas.
Mm. Yes. Excuse me. There's allergies. I don't have COVID. I promise. I just took a test. Hare Krishna, Yashodamayi Mataji. Nice to see you.
Haribol Yasudev Prabhu. I just wanted to just thank you and appreciate, well, not just the beautiful marathon of lotus feet verses, which, touched everyone's heart, I'm sure. But also, I just appreciate what you just said, the last thing you said about the mind being the energy of Krishna as well, and that just helping it to go back to its original source. That's not something that I always think of the mind as an enemy, and that my job is to subdue it and beat it all the time. But actually, yeah, you're right. It is a part of Krishna's energy, and to kind of like ease it and urge it back into what is going to really enjoy, instead of this false enjoyment of the material world. I just wanted to, just show that I appreciated that. And that's something for me to meditate on today as I meditate on Srimati Radharani's lotus feet as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't often think in that way too. It just kind of came to me somehow. But Krishna does say in chapter 7, Bhumirapana kam mano buddhir evacha. He says, these are my energies. So the mind is Krishna's energy also. So let's just, take it home. Take it home by engaging in Krishna's service.
Haribol Yashodeva Prabhu. Jai, thank you so much. I mean, it's just so beautiful. As always, as you know, I appreciate your classes so much. I was listening to a class yesterday, and Srila Prabhupada, he spoke for 25 minutes on Krishna, as opposed to Radharani. It was Radhastami. I can't remember the date. And then at the end of that class, at the last 5 minutes, or maybe 2 or 3 minutes, he says, and Radharani controls Krishna. She's the only one that can control Krishna. That's all he said about Radharani. So I was appreciating today how you kept the class just focused on Krishna and focused on the mind. It reminded me of that class of Prabhupada. Thank you so much.
Wow. That's a wonderful meditation for us today. Krishna is Madan Mohan. He bewilders Cupid, but Radharani is Madan Mohan Mohini. She bewilders even the bewilderer of Krishna, of Cupid. More on that later. Anyone else want to share some other Srimati Radharani tidbits, just in case you can't attend the Radhastami program? But I hope everyone can attend and tune in. And I hope someone else will give a lecture.
Can you share what the program is? Because I thought the lecture was going to be in the temple. It's not going to be in the temple. It's going to be online.
No, it'll be in the temple at 11. It starts at 11. There's some discussion, and then I guess 12 Arati, Kirtan, Prasadam. It's not a lot of. It'll be simple and sublime. Prabhu. So 11 o'clock in the temple. Yeah, we'll be there. I'm bringing this couple from State College, kind of ISKCON devotees, just came for school. So I hope to see some of you soon. Any other?
I have a question. I had seen a message that Krishna Maya and her husband was given the class, so that's not happening.
Yeah, there were. Then Leela Madhurya said last night that I guess they can't come. So she's asked me to do, but I feel kind of weird doing 2 lectures in a day. So again, it's on the table. If anyone wants to take the service, please don't feel shy. It's not like we should feel shy. If you want to do the service, then do the service. Not like some self-aggrandizement. If you're enthusiastic to glorify Srimati Radharani, and if you have some qualification, then please let me know. Take over. All right, if there's no other comments about Srimad Bhagavatam for today, then I'll say thank you everybody for tuning in and for being present. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.
Do you know if Darshanarti is at 8:30? Or you don't know? Okay, great.
I don't know.
It is at 8:30, yes.
Oh, it is. Okay, great. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.